Hi everyone, my name is Venessa Ninovic, also known as Intel Inquirer, and today I'm going to talk about open source intelligence and webcams. I think it's a really cool topic, something that's really interesting, and something that can actually add value to your investigations also. I do want to start off by saying that it's important to keep ethics in mind with this kind of topic when looking at webcams, cameras, unsecured cameras in people's homes and stuff like that. It's really important to have OSINT for good in mind. Think about the aims of your investigation, what you're trying to look for, who you're looking into, and whether it's for a good purpose also. So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there, despite the fact it's a really interesting topic. Also in terms of the legality and things like that, it's important to keep all of these things in mind. So I would also like to thank OSINTPUNK so much for having me present to this conference. I really hope you guys enjoy my talk. I'm from Sydney, Australia. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there in person in Spain to present as much as I would have loved to be there, maybe next year. So thanks for having me. So a little bit about me. As I said earlier, my name's Venessa. I go by Intel Inquirer on Twitter and on Medium, and I am a senior intelligence analyst from Sydney. I recently was awarded the AIPAO Emerging Intelligence Professional of the Year last year, which was pretty awesome, by the Australian Institute of Professional Intelligence Officers. So I really enjoy blogging and presenting in the open source intelligence space. Is something that I'm really passionate about, and I love to be involved in the community and sharing my thoughts and ideas out there. So if you'd like to follow me, feel free, and I hope you enjoy my presentation today and hopefully learn something new as well. So let's go into human intelligence for a second and go back in time. So cameras have been used for centuries, especially in the intelligence industry, and especially human intelligence, the surveillance aspect, surveilling in person, using concealed cameras in various objects. You've got here an image of a pigeon with a camera. Obviously iPhones weren't a thing back in the day, and we've also got here a screenshot from ASIO, an Australian intelligence agency. You've got their sunglasses case with a hidden camera. So it was hidden in various objects, from handbags to clocks and pens, and back in the day that was some very high-tech stuff. And you had to work in like an intelligence capacity or in an intelligence agency to acquire these kinds of tools that you can use to surveil people. So when you compare that to current times, it is a very different scenario. We have cameras absolutely everywhere. Everyone that I know owns a phone with a camera on it, which has filming capabilities. And small cameras are actually everywhere as well. So just for example, I decided to look up spy cameras on Amazon to see what was out there, and there was hundreds and hundreds of products out there which had a hidden camera installed in it. So for example, here you've got a pen with a camera on it, but there's just so many different devices, and they're actually incredibly small. You've got, air diffusers with cameras on it. You've got photo frames with cameras on it. It's just almost insane how small these devices are getting and how affordable they are. So when you compare to back in the day, you had to be a part of an intelligence agency to get that kind of high tech. Now anyone can buy it on Amazon, which also adds a bit of concern in terms of who could purchase these products and for what reasons. There's no kind of assessment in terms of the legality or ethics involved in purchasing these products or what they're being used for, which is obviously an area of concern. As well, currently, I wrote a blog recently about espionage and the role that love plays in intelligence. And for example, there's cameras set up in China currently in certain hotels, luring certain political figures into these hotels to do certain things and using that as leverage for blackmail or espionage, and those kinds of things. So hidden, cameras can be hidden everywhere nowadays, and it's a very different environment. So a bit about webcams and how they can benefit your investigations, obviously depending on what you're looking at. But for example, event planning and analysis, you can really scope an area to a T and see kind of how many people there are, what areas are more populated than others. Say, for example, there's a music event occurring and you want to see how popular it is on a particular day and comparing that to the music event or other event that's going to take place. Webcams can also be used for weather updates as well, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in this talk. And you can also look at real-time videos and feeds if there is a particular event occurring that might be of concern. For example, going into these webcams, seeing what's currently occurring that may be of concern to you or to your team, and also for missing people and for wanted people also. If you know that your missing person is within a particular area, it might be helpful scoping through live webcam feeds to see what you find and potentially who you find as well. If you do know what they're potentially wearing on the day that they are missing, that could be helpful, as that could be visible in a webcam, for example. And yeah, just a general situational awareness of an area as well. These can be really helpful in an investigation, and luckily there are open source webcams that do exist. So it's not just CCTV cameras that are closed circuit that aren't available to us at all and may not really be helpful if you don't work, an example, in a law enforcement capacity. So these can be really helpful for any team depending on your investigation. So yeah, really understanding what you're investigating and kind of going from there and seeing what tools are available. And luckily for us in the open source intelligence space, there are so many tools and techniques, it's almost hard to keep up. So let's get to it. So I'm going to go through some webcams that do exist, some that are noteworthy, and go through the kind of pros and cons and also a snippet of what it kind of looks like, which may help you, and you can kind of decide which one may work best for your investigation and for what country you're looking in and those kinds of things. So firstly, we've got Webcam Taxi. So the pros include it gives you information about that particular area, so the population, the climate, the major cities that exist in that country, the main religion, and the main attractions also, which is really helpful. So if you're looking at a country that you're quite unfamiliar about, say for example you're doing a Tracelab CTF and your missing person is in a country that you really don't have a lot of information about or don't have a lot of prior existing knowledge about, this can really help you. So it's not just webcams, it's that other information as well that you can kind of leverage and kind of get an understanding for that particular area. So for the cons, you cannot search by state. So for example, in Australia, there's several states and territories. You'll just have to scroll down and look at the different webcams that do exist. And there's a really small amount for Australia. So for most of my talk today, I will be looking at Australian examples just because that's what I'm familiar with. But for these webcams, it's, worldwide. So you can search up a country, it will most probably be on there, and you will have live webcams there. With this one as well, there's heaps of ads on there, which can get a bit annoying, but also with time, when you are using certain open source intelligence tools, you kind of get used to it. A lot of them do have ads, unfortunately, but it's just the way it is. I've also provided links for every webcam that I'm going to talk about today. If you like, I can share this presentation with you. Just send me a message and you can have access to all the links there as well. So we've got SKYLINE webcams next, and this shows, naturally different countries around the world and different cities also. So the only con is that there are limited options available in terms of searching and in terms of the scope of the cameras as well. So for example, in Australia, there was only a few and it was just major cities only. So if you're looking for something that might be a bit more remote, you probably won't have that on SKYLINE cameras. And here's an image here of Sydney that I acquired from this website as well. So we've got InScam. It's pretty good because it shows you how many cameras there are per country, and it also shows footage based on a location as well. So if you see there on the right, I've got a screenshot of the different countries and the different the amount of cameras that are available. So if you see, for example, in the United States, there's nearly 2,000 cameras, which is a really decent amount. In France, you've got 270 roughly, and the tab next to that says places. If you click on that, it shows the different places that you can look at. So if you're looking at footage of a beach, for example, you can just look at the different beaches, or if that is of interest for your investigation for whatever reason, you've got that there, or bars or hotels, and then you've got cities also, which is really helpful. The cons is that there's ads everywhere yet again, and there's no map function as well, so that's something to keep in mind. But overall, I think they've got a really good variety, and this might be worthwhile looking at if you do have an interest in webcams for your investigations. I would note this one down personally. We've got CCAM. So this is, various countries around Australia, around the world, and here we've got, for example, there's 1,282 webcams in Australia. That is a massive amount and something that's worthwhile as well. There's a large selection, and you can search for a particular country as well. It's further broken down into state and cities when you do click on a country, which I thought was really helpful, instead of just having, 50 screenshots of webcams that are available, but you cannot search a particular city or state. So this is really helpful. The only con is that it's not really live. So this screenshot here on the right is an example of a beach in New South Wales taken at 9:45 p.m. So that doesn't look very live to me. It doesn't look like night at all. It looks like midday. So that's a bit questionable. Something to definitely keep in mind if you are looking for something that's real time. I would not suggest this at all. So yeah, on to the next. Earthcam is pretty good. Naturally, you've got webcams around the world, and it's quite up to date. It's quite live. The only con is that for me personally, navigating the map was a little bit slow, but that might also be my internet speed. But here's a screenshot of what it looks like, and you've got, the time lapse as well, which is pretty cool. And I'll definitely note this one down for OSINT investigations in general. Next, we've got world webcams. This has, the map function, so you can actually look at a map of the world and kind of zoom in on there and see what cameras pop up, what might be of interest to you in your investigation. And it's really easy to use. So, you've got this map here. You can see all the little squares, which are different webcams. You literally just click on it and it showcases a bigger image of that live feed, and it goes into details about the video as well in terms of where it is. And I think it's, one of the best ones in this presentation. I think it's pretty easy to use and definitely noteworthy as well. So there are different sites that provide different webcams and CCTVs for particular countries. So for example, here I've got UK based. This is from UK OSINT, is Internet of Things, and it showcases the different satellites and webcams for the UK specifically. But what's great is that it also shows different links for worldwide as well. So it's not just the UK, but if you do searches, you can potentially find a list of different webcams that exist for your particular country of interest. But I've also got something else to add, which I will mention further down the track in this presentation as well. But for now, if you're looking at the UK, here's a screenshot of some webcams that would be really helpful delving deeper into the UK in this particular place, because when you look at the worldwide ones, it's not very specific, a lot of them. For example, I had one that had about 10 different webcams in Australia. So if you're looking at a specific city, you probably won't find anything of interest if it's not a major hotspot area like Sydney. So that's something to keep in mind. We've got here a tool called STRAYA. Naturally, it's about Australia and the different webcams that exist. So it's accurate in terms of the date and time, which is pretty good. If you look on the right here, you've got the Princess Highway, which was pretty accurate in terms of the date and time. And below that, we've got real-time monitoring of 359 Australian traffic webcams with over 100,000 snapshots and counting. So I think that's really helpful if you are looking at Sydney in particular. That might be of interest and worthy, definitely. I know we've got the Australian Missing Persons Hackathon coming up as well, so if anyone is participating in that, I believe it may be in March, that might be of interest to you guys if you are participating for these particular webcams for particular countries or cities. So definitely worth keeping in mind, and thought I'd share that as well. So we've got here a website which also showcases where CCTV cameras are located, specifically in Sydney, which I thought was really interesting. We've got that pictured here. It shows several, and CCTV cameras, it's only increasing with time. I know in Australia in particular, certain stores like Woolworths and Bunnings now also have cameras installed, so it's becoming a worldwide thing for sure, and it's just going to increase. So I thought that might be interesting if any teams, for example, have any connections with people within this space, within the CCTV space. It might be worthwhile, allocating a particular CCTV camera that may showcase a particular item of interest or person of interest, and kind of going from there and investigating further. We've also got here the Sunders Uber space, which is a map view of the globe, and you can see different CCTV cameras also, which I thought was really handy because it really showcases the number of cameras in a particular area, in a particular country as well. Some can be publicly accessible, but the majority of them are not. So it's more just for a general scoping of the CCTV cameras that are out there worldwide, and kind of going from there, which may be helpful as well, as I stated earlier, but I thought that was really interesting and thought I would share. It's called Surveillance Under Surveillance, so keep that in mind as well. So here we have a search engine for webcams, which I thought was really handy. So you can type in any city and it will, or any country, depending on what you're looking at, and it will showcase various results based on the various different webcams that exist and are listed here. So you've got, you know, a list of about 20 different webcams. Oh, it says 10. Yeah, so various different webcams from around the world, and it shows you results based on those different search feeds. And I thought that was really handy, and I've actually got an example here. So say, for example, you search Sydney, you've got all these different results, which is really awesome and definitely worthwhile. And then on the right, you've got a picture of all of the results that show up. So you've got so many different webcams. So as I stated earlier, if you're searching for a particular city or a particular country, you want to use this site because it will showcase, you know, webcams specific for that area, where as opposed to the worldwide webcams, which are helpful, but it may not get down into the specifics of that location, of that city, of that state, or that country, to be honest. So this is definitely worthwhile keeping note of and using in your investigations as a kind of starting point and building on this when you are searching for live stream footage. So webcams can be used for various different things, as I stated earlier, and here is weather monitoring, which can be really useful. So this, for example, windy.com showcases a world map, and you can kind of filter through the settings and see what you want to look at, whether it's wind, whether it's air quality, temperature, rain. And you've got here a screenshot, for example, of Sydney, and it showcases the weather also in correspondence with live webcam feeds. So it's kind of showing both. You've got the webcam, but you've also got the weather. So if you are monitoring something like a major weather incident, let's say it's, you know, in Sydney we've had floods recently, or, you know, hurricanes, this might be of interest for you because you can then incorporate that with other items like social media searches to kind of get a really good perspective of the current, you know, climate that's occurring and the current weather incidences, say for example hurricanes or tornadoes or floods, whatever it may be. If that's of interest to you, you've got this here, and you've got the live webcam next to it as well, which is really, really helpful. Now, home cameras is something that I think is fascinating. So we've got the rise of the Amazon Ring camera. I'm not sure how many of you have this device. I think from a security's perspective, it is fantastic. If someone even walks up to your door, you've got the footage, which is great. Especially, you know, if you have a break and enter, that might be of interest to you. But at the same time, it's important to note that, you know, the people who own the Ring camera, you don't know, you know, what they might do with that footage as well. So from a privacy perspective, say for example, you're a mailman, you'll be featured on so many Ring cameras in that city, it's not funny. And, you know, people can potentially upload that footage onto social media. So that's something to keep in mind. But from an OSINT perspective, it's fantastic because, you know, you've got this footage here, which is another thing you can leverage in your investigations. But also it's of concern. So, for example, in Halloween, recently in America, you see an image here of, you know, children dressed up, and that, you know, can be of concern. You know, the parents, you might not know, what might be done with this footage. They may be featured on various different ring footages, and I've got a link there as well. And we've got the hashtag here, Ringdoorbell on TikTok, which is massive. There has been 4 billion views of this hashtag, which is showcasing just the prevalence of ring footage on social media. It's huge, and these people may not even know that they have been videoed, although I will admit a lot of these videos that I looked at were staged as well, so you never really know. But yeah, in terms of a privacy perspective, you never know whether you'll be #1 trending on TikTok because there's been a funny video of you doing something in front of someone's house that morning. So that's something to keep in mind as well, and something that you can use in your investigations if you're looking at a particular area, but also from a privacy perspective. Us being OSINT analysts, we kind of work with what we got and make the most of it. And, for example, in these images, you've got houses in the background with numbers. And if there's a hashtag showcasing the particular state, country or city that that video is in, you potentially may be able to do a geolocation of that video and find out exactly potentially where their home address is. So that's something to keep in mind. That's something that can be leveraged if needed, and something that can be used in your investigations. Social media is a massive tool for us OSINT analysts, and the same goes for webcams, for footage, for videos, and there's various different social media platforms I would recommend if you're looking at a particular location, for example. So for example, we've got Snapchat, we've got SnapMap, which is a map, a worldwide map, and it's a heat map, so it showcases the various different activities on Snapchat for those who don't know, and you really kind of zoom into a particular area and it shows videos of the last 24 hours, which can be really handy. We've also got Instagram, where people can tag a location, and YouTube GeoFind, which is a search for YouTube videos on a map. And we've also got 1 million tweet map, which is a map of the different tweets that are occurring in real time, and you can also see videos on there as well. Cyber Detective on Twitter, Cyber Detective also stated the different searches that you can do on YouTube to find different webcam feeds as well, which is something that I thought was really handy, which you can also use. Drones are another thing that we can talk about really quickly. So people can obviously video on their drones, which is another perspective of videos that can be potentially used in your investigations. And we've got 3 different tools here which are open source and can be used. Dronestagram is basically an Instagram for drones, where people can upload dronies, which is a selfie using a drone, and other different videos and photos from their drones as well, which might be worth looking at. We've got Travel with Drone, which is a worldwide map with various drone footages of that area. So if you're trying to, for example, do geolocation analysis and you want to get a general scoping of that kind of bird's eye view, this might be really helpful. And then we've got Pwnverse, which is a social media platform used by drone enthusiasts, where they can upload, a profile picture, different videos and photos from their drone, and can also link their social media profiles. So from a social media intelligence perspective, this can be really handy, especially if your POI is a drone enthusiast or you want to know about a particular area. You can kind of find people through this platform. Glasses with cameras are now a thing. Apparently we've got Ray-Ban camera glasses, which I thought was really fascinating. I actually watched a video on YouTube about how it kind of works, just because I was really interested. And they've basically got like a button you can press here to kind of start recording, and it is 30-second recordings which can be uploaded onto YouTube or whatever social media platform people are using. And it's got that white dot there, which just here, which indicates that it's currently recording. So just from like a privacy perspective, if you see one of these Ray-Ban sunnies and it's got that little white dot, you know that they're recording, and could be helpful from an OSINT perspective as well. Image analysis is something that I'm going to go through now. So when you do screenshot an image from a CCTV or from a webcam, I should say, you can actually delve deeper into kind of analysing it. So here, for example, another screenshot from Cyber Detective. You can view videos frame by frame using these websites, or you can also use framebyframe.com for YouTube videos by actually kind of really analysing a video by each frame for a really good closer look. But there's various other techniques that you can use as an OSINT analyst, from geolocation to kind of editing of an image, which I will go through now. So we've got facial recognition. Better Face API analyzes the face in quite a lot of detail. So this is a screenshot of an individual from a CCTV, from a webcam, called Earthcam. And I believe Yandex does have really good facial recognition software, so I do recommend doing a reverse image search on there. But Better Face API kind of goes through the image in really good detail. So it shows, it looks into the hair color, the kind of facial, the kind of face that they're making, whether it's a smile, half smile, frown, going into the clothing of the individual and what they're wearing, the eye color. So the kind of nitty-gritties into that individual, it kind of goes into. I just realised I may have said a Aussie slang word. So it goes into depth of their face in particular. And here is an original image on Earthcam, which I thought I would kind of use a particular tool to kind of edit it, to kind of showcase what's available from an OSINT perspective. Don't underestimate the different tools that are out there to kind of edit an image. I'm no graphic design artist or anything like that, so these are quite easy to use, these tools, and something that might be worthwhile if you are interested. So here's an edited image from the website called PIXELIED. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I really kind of worked on sharpening the image, also increasing the brightness and the contrast. So that might be helpful if you're really trying to look into a particular thing in a CCTV image. You've got these tools that are available to you. So now I've got a geolocation case study. I found this screenshot on Earthcam, the webcam which I talked about earlier, and this is a screenshot of New Orleans. That's all I knew. So I wanted to find the restaurant, which was on the bottom left there, with that little kind of circle signage with the rectangle signage underneath it. And I thought I'd kind of play around with different tools that are available to see how I can locate this particular CCTV webcam image. So I tried to use PIXELIED, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, to zoom in on the image. And this didn't work, and that's okay. I think with open source intelligence, it's very much a trial and error kind of game. You never know what's really going to work. Some things may work, some things may not, but I just wanted to showcase that this tool can also zoom in. But zooming in as much as I could, I still was not able to determine or read what website it was. What restaurant it was, sorry. I tried that, didn't work, on to the next thing. I tried a reverse image search, and bingo, this worked. It actually showcased a YouTube video which told me the potential street address. I kind of took this at face value, and I then went into Bourbon Street in New Orleans. For the reverse image search, I used Google Lens, But it's important to note that there are other types of platforms that offer reverse image search as well. It's not just Google. There's also Yandex, there's Bing, there's also TuneEye, for example. So that's something to keep in mind. So with that, I was able to geolocate the restaurant. It's called Restaurant Cornet, using Google Maps. So I went into Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and I went through the map, looked at the particular street, and from there I found the restaurant. What you could also do is Google, restaurants in Bourbon Street, New Orleans, and possibly find it there in a lot quicker manner. But I kind of enjoyed going on Google Maps. I think it's quite fun. The nerd in me quite liked it. So on to the next. So I then did a social media analysis quickly of that particular restaurant, and I managed to pinpoint the restaurant on Snapchat using SnapMap, but I also found the restaurant in Instagram, and I was able to find images that were most recent from a day ago of this particular restaurant, which might be of interest to you if you're looking for someone who has been at this restaurant before and you want to look at the interior of it, which you can then cross-reference with an image of a POI, potentially look at the background of the image of the POI. They may have been at this restaurant in the past. You can use these kind of social media platforms and really leverage it to your advantage. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So just quickly as well, I wanted to showcase that in CCTV and webcam images and videos, you may see cars. That will probably be a thing. And I just want to showcase there is this website called worldlicenseplates.com, which showcases different license plates, but it also goes into a lot of detail. Like, for example, I just looked up Ghana really quickly. It's got 2019 series, 2050s as well, so 1950s as well. So like, I thought that was really fascinating that it goes that much back in time and into that much detail as well. So something to keep in mind. We've also got street signs and road lines for countries around the world. This website, by some random stuff, I will say, it is incredibly in-depth, and it also goes into license plates as well. As you can see here, it's a screenshot on the left of a license plate that's blurred out. So a lot of the time, for example, on Google Maps, license plates will be blurred out for privacy reasons. This goes into detail about blurred out license plates and where it could be located, which I thought was really, really fascinating. So something to keep in mind in your investigations as well. So with future implications, we are seeing an increase of people using these smart devices, having these smart devices in their phone, in their homes. We've got gadgets like smart fridges now, for example, robots, vacuum robots with cameras on them. We've got so many different appliances now and gadgets that people are constantly buying and using because it's very convenient. You've got Ring home cameras. These kinds of devices will continue to be used, and we can kind of leverage this if it's available online. So webcams are something that you can use, and we're seeing an increase in CCTV cameras around the world as well. I saw a post recently in New York. They're now putting cameras in trees. So I thought it's really interesting. It's also an issue in terms of privacy naturally, but it's just going to increase. I know Snapchat, for example, wanted to release a drone which takes videos and photos called Snap Pixie. They discontinued funding for that, but it shows that there is that potential there in the future for social media platforms to really kind of go into this space. You know, those sunglasses that I talked about earlier, those Ray-Ban sunglasses, that's in collaboration with Facebook. So, we're already seeing this occurring. It's just going to continue to occur, and the technology is going to get better. So the webcams that we see now, for example, these sunglasses with cameras on them, these drones, the technology will only get better with time. And, identifying someone, for example, will get easier as the technology advances as well. So something to keep in mind. And here's more resources for you guys that I referenced in this talk today. I would like to thank OSINTPUNK so much for having me. I really hope you enjoyed my talk. And if you have any questions, please give me a message on, LinkedIn or Twitter, and I will answer whatever you have. And happy OSINTing, everyone. Hope you think about using a webcam in your OSINT investigations in the future. Thank you.